You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
With us today is Mitch Carson. He is the CEO and thought leader with his company, Get Interview Guaranteed. He helps speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants become the number one person in their niche so you can spend more time with your families, live the dream that you always dreamt about, and help others in the process. Mitch, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I don't know if I should start strumming your guitar, but you're there and I'm here.
We can make some music across the board. That sounds fantastic. I love it. So Mitch, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. I see that you've been in your industry 30 plus years already. Tell us more about that experience.
Well, I don't want to divulge my true age because I might shock you. So I'm just going to keep it 30 plus years. How's that?
That's perfect.
Well, I've been a professional speaker for quite a few years, more than 3 decades. And I've been a business owner for much of that time as well, where I've started 2 companies from scratch, sold 2 different companies to publicly traded corporations. So I was able to walk away. I like starting things from scratch versus buying existing entities and forming it. And the creation process is what intrigues me, interests me, and fulfills me. And that started as a young age. Well, the first company I sold to an employee wasn't publicly traded. I started that in college. It was an advertising specialty company. I sold that later. And then I went into corporate work and then started and did that for 2 years, and it bored me because I was told what to do. And I didn't like that. I liked the confines of being unconfined. And then started a company with other individuals. And then we sold it to Waste Management after 3 years. Got into the ad specialty business again, always speaking to build the business quickly because a one-to-many is the key to growth, as I have seen, from what I've seen. And then I sold that company in 2006 to Halo Branded Solutions, which is an Amex listed company. And since then, I have been independent and have enjoyed my process.
That is fantastic. Sounds like the quite well-experienced journey, and similar to many other entrepreneurs where you are kind of finding your own way. You can't help but see opportunity. You're starting multiple businesses, starting something new. And I love kind of the approach that you take behind your marketing strategy. This is a one-to-many, and it's a personal approach versus people who don't want to be there or hear the message. You're actually presenting it to people who want to learn more about you. Some of the topics that we're going to go into today is using big media. How do we use that effectively to kind of leverage our area of expertise?
Let's talk about the ascension model of media. Let's talk about traditional versus newer. Traditional, I would say, would be print, which is now online and print. We have radio shows, which now are radio shows plus podcasts. And then you have YouTube shows or streaming shows, which could then be also network television. Looking at your age, I suspect you've never watched TV in your life, but some people of my generation respect network television as number one. I maintain that because of where I am, probably because of my age cohort. And it's also the most challenging and it still garners the most credibility, in my opinion. Because in order to be a host on a TV show, as in network television show, most have gone through broadcast journalism school, are educated, and are professionals. Whereas if someone starts a YouTube channel, and there are great YouTube hosts, they just hung a shingle and said, "Hi, I'm a YouTube streamer. Aren't I bitchin'? Let's pop my pimples." Well, buddy, you haven't paid your dues. So I believe that you can pop your pimples at any age, but it's more likely with the younger. And in order to get on television, you got to use makeup. You've got to know how to extract great information out of your guests and move quickly. To be interviewed on network television, it's 2.5 minutes all the way to 4 minutes. That's your confines, speaking in sound bites. I want to say left when they end a sentence with right. No, left. And no, I don't know. When you say, no, I don't know, you're telling me. All of these verbal tics need to be eradicated in order to sound like an adult and sound like what you're talking about. Because if you continue with, you ask a question, that's a classic. Yeah, you're not a professional. You've just lowered your IQ from 100 to an 80. or maybe 150 down to 130. You lose 20 points on the first. Yeah. And you know, that drives me crazy. Or like, no, I don't like it. Stop it.
Live media is a struggle. Even pre-recorded sessions can be a challenge. With more practice, it can get better, but I think live, real professional help is warranted, especially when you have a 2 to 4 minute window, live TV, tens of hundreds of thousands of viewers. There's not a lot of room for error there. You have to make a great first impression.
On point. And there is no forgiveness for live TV. If you come and freeze like a deer in headlights, you can do that on a podcast we just record again, or you edit it out. How do you do that on live TV? Let me give you the answer. You can't. You've just ruined any possibility for more media. And I think there is the need for an ascension model. I had a story on a radio show. I was a host on CBS some years ago in Los Angeles. In walks my friend's wife, who was this super attractive, buxom blonde who sold homes in a high-end neighborhood in LA, and she uttered confidence. When she walked in, the room turned. And wow, look at this hot, gorgeous, all-American looking blonde woman. She sat down in front of the mic. There were 4 mics at the table inside the radio show. And I said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Yes." Then she glanced at the light that said on air. It was flashing before it goes to all red, which means it's live. You're live. People are listening to you, not seeing you. This is before video, listening to you. She turned from this very beautiful, confident, tall, statuesque woman into a 3-year-old little girl that needed her mommy, who wanted to crawl under mommy's skirt right at that moment because she was intimidated, overwhelmed, had never been on an interview before, never interviewed on a live show. And I thought, shame on you, Mitch. I didn't vet her. I didn't train her, didn't clear her in advance. Live is a completely different level, albeit radio and television, even live casting today, but you have the security of being behind a camera like what we're doing today. We don't know. This is a lot more relaxed than being in a studio in a live environment where other physical people are watching you. They're next to you. They can ridicule you. And that's what's going through a person's head when they're in that kind of environment. To write and get publicity for a print, people are going to evaluate what you wrote, but you're not live and getting in the moment feedback. So I do believe there's a difficulty. The highest difficulty is live television, New York City, on a morning show when your butt is exposed to the nation, if not the world, if they add the streaming component. That is the Harvard of television, like the epitome of education, Harvard University, the biggest brand in the world. I didn't go there, but I respect it. That's, if you say Harvard, immediate. Wow. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg went there. That's what we know to be the truth. If you are on Good Morning America or one of the other morning shows, Fox and Friends in New York, you've made it. Do you think they're going to take you on unless you are proven beforehand? The likelihood of them risking their rear ends for you simply because I deserve to be on the show or I want to be on the show? Good luck, Buster. Unless you've proven yourself in one of the second or third tier markets, they're not going to take a risk on you. Why should they? And why would they? When there are ample guests who have ticked the right boxes in advance, unless you've created the greatest, latest widget, and they will vet you in advance anyway. In order for them to be interested, you've got to be super interesting and ready to convey your message, well trained. So I'm a big fan of media training and beating the crap out of you with all those verbal tics of right, you know, like, and you know. And yeah, that's my favorite. How about you, Chris? Does that irk you when someone yas you?
It doesn't irk me only because I am guilty of all of those tics myself, which I thankfully edit in post. However, I try to make a conscious effort to get better and to be better. However, with all the practice, things can still happen. There are problems that lights on, camera, the on air sign. We just get nervous. We kind of clam up and just, how could we avoid that? Even years in, are you
You
still nervous
practice it.
going on stage?
No, I don't get nervous. I get excited. So I've turned the nerves into excitement. It serves me. Even doing a podcast with you, I gear myself up. I use some meditation techniques because it's my duty, obligation, and privilege to be on your show. I take my job and experience seriously. Every single one deserves the best, Mitch. So I meditate before I take an appearance, and I do this 5 minutes before I click the buttons. Hi, I'm here. I do this intentionally because I want to give you my best, Mitch. You get the best of me being mentally prepared. My lighting is on, my sound, we tested the mic, it's covering my face. Ooh, more handsome, less handsome. I am prepared. And I think you've got to take it seriously. No actor in Hollywood just shoots from the hip. Let's wing it. That's not responsible. I read about you in advance. If you are on a show on a TV, research your hosts. Get familiar with the person that's going to interview you. You have one shot of being the best you. Make the best of it. Lazy approach will give you a less stellar result. This is your opportunity to shine. People go through dress rehearsals, even in the school play for grammar school. High school, they rehearsed, and then when the curtains open, you're ready. Why do you think it's any different if you get the opportunity to guest on Fox 5 television here in Las Vegas? They are unforgiving. If I bring in a ill-prepared host, I'm going to hear about it. Guest rather. Ill-prepared guest, I'm going to hear about it. I know these people. So it's important to be prepared. I think you'll find after we do this interview, Mitch was prepared. He was ready as his microphone. He even kidded with me a little bit. He's got his water nearby to keep the vocal cords wet.
I love it. It's smart. The
And it's room
preparation,
temperature.
it increases the production value. The room
Correct.
temperature with a spritz of lemon, did I see?
Yes, lemon in there, never ice cubes because that freezes the vocal cords and will affect your pitch, intonation, your voice quality. So I know these
Interesting.
tips. You want to have room temperature, and I like a little bit of the citrus. That way I don't get scurvy. I don't want any of those diseases. So I have my scurvy repellent, good for the gut, but it's a nice prop. Look at that. He's pretending to
it.
be healthy in
It's
a
great.
healthy way.
Now, for the business owners and entrepreneurs who are considering using their personal brand, trying to either get speaking gigs, now they're prepared as they could be. They want to do some outreach and find the places where they should get in contact and then craft this message that resonates with them to get invited on. What does that look like?
Well, they can get in touch with me. I mean, that's certainly an option. If they're interested in getting on TV, guaranteed, I have a program, and the only publicist in the US that I know of that guarantees television on network shows. You've got to go through my training first. Nobody goes in raw, ill-prepared. My reputation is everything to me. But if you go to getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch, I'm sure it's going to be in the show notes. We can set up an appointment, and it is a guaranteed exposure of up to 4 network television shows, guaranteed on a radio show here in Las Vegas, where I live. We get covered in advance, and it's fee-based versus contract-based over months, where they suck you dry on your debit card or credit card for getting you on one show in Wichita. No, we do it all in 2 days. You have 4 shows, and all of your branding is done. Media is done. You have more media than most PR agencies will supply you in a year, sucking you dry at $10,000 a month.
That is absolute way that people should consider crafting their own offer, creating this attractive offer that provides deliverables and value, assign a timeline to it, the product benefit to it. And this is how you craft your offer. Now, once you get them on these interviews and they have all their media completed, how do they then leverage that by crafting their own offer to turn it into cash?
Well, great question. And the answer is You've just raised your credibility. And if you also come in as an author, which is largely many of my clients, you have to see yourself as an expert. Number one, it's a mental shift that must take place, Chris. You must see yourself as a possible expert or as an expert in your category, at least number one or two. You must want it, perceive it, and execute on it. So then when you have these assets, you can repurpose them into footage and you could place it on what is called your one sheet. That is useful to get booked on podcasts, to get booked on other media outlets. If you have those proof assets, I would absolutely leverage it. All of my clients that have come in here are not from Las Vegas. They're from outside. I don't work with local businesses, or I haven't as of yet. I mean, I certainly could, just hasn't worked out. They've come here, then they've used the assets. Several have come from Atlanta, for example, and then used it to get on TV in their local market. They've used it to get on international markets. Many of my clients have gone over. I've used to bring people over to the Bahamas to get on Bahamas TV, then to get on television in the Philippines. I used to live over there and got people on my show on CNN Philippines. A producer has one responsibility. It's listeners, it's viewers. They need quality people with a message that will resonate with the audience. That's their job. And they do not want to be embarrassed or ashamed. Hey, Mr. Producer, give me a shot. It doesn't work like that. They're not in the gift giving business. They're feeding their families based on who they allow on their shows. It's their job to find the right people so they look great and to make their job easy, and they can use that. You will find people that will want to hire you and give you greater credibility status after they've seen legitimate network television logos. What do you think has more credibility, Joe Blow's podcast or NBC television?
NBC.
Easy answer. I mean, even if you're under 30, the answer is obvious. They all say, well, Joe Blow. No, wake up, stop doing what you're doing, open up your brain, and realize there are hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone into the brand build of NBC, ABC, CW, CBS, and Fox. Those are the five that I get people covered on. You can't compete. Now, there are some exceptions. If you look at Mr. Beast, he's the biggest YouTuber in the world. If you get interviewed by him, can that catapult your brand? Yes, if you're under 30. I don't know what it would do for me. At my age, it's great. I was on the #1 YouTube channel in the world. My demographic won't even know who he is. I know because I'm in the marketing world. My age group, what's a beast? What is this, some kid? Yeah, he's under 30. He's the biggest YouTuber in the world, and they're going to say this. Or if they see me on Fox 5 television here, thumbs up. YouTuber, thumb down. Doesn't matter. You've got to use the media appropriate to your market. It's message to market match, Chris. This is what I have found over my years in the market. It doesn't matter how many views Beast has, and he's huge. Much like in the podcast space, we all want to be on Joe Rogan. I would say yes, absolutely. I think he's a great host, and he's the biggest podcaster. I think one of the more business-centric podcasts would be Entrepreneur on Fire, and he charges $3,500 to get on his podcast. Great, but it's still a podcast. Top of the food chain in that market. It's not network television. So it's a leverageable asset to then get published in Forbes, to get on in Entrepreneur Press. If you've got all of those links after you submit an editorial request to be covered with your 800-word article, and you've been covered on Chris Troka's podcast, you've also been covered on NBC, CBS, ABC. You have all of those links that the person that receives this, they're noteworthy. Then you get on, you have cross-pollination into this other platform where people can click on your website and buy your services. And it's a tremendous lead magnet assist and creating
that is what it's all about, getting people into the funnel. But it starts with the awareness. It has to be the right audience, something that you mentioned. Doesn't matter how many views or how, popular they are. It matters that the audience is there and that crafting of the message, the offer that actually hooks people in. The trust is the biggest factor. People want to know you, like you, and trust you. So that way they can see if they want to do business with you and build relationships. And B2B strategy is even more difficult. Is this kind of geared more towards like the clients you help? Are they more B2B, or have you seen some B2C
B2C,
people?
B2B, it's all about building a brand and credentializing. And it works for business of consumer. I've had dentists come through, and if they're on TV, the local newspaper will want them to write a column. Television in their home city. I have a chiropractor client who does a weekly medical show in Tampa, Florida, simply because she's not even a doctor, or I mean, a medical doctor. She's a chiropractor who talks about all these health issues. And I mean, no disrespect to chiros. I'm just saying she's not a physician. She's a doctor of chiropractic who talks about health. Now, she's very attractive, which helps. Got to look the part, good to look at. She's articulate, knows her subject matter, but they're comfortable with her because she's proven, and she gets invited back every single week on this show in Tampa, one of the networks there. That's her entire marketing. So you ask about how do you monetize it? She's on there every week, and she is constantly getting new patients. She's opened up multiple practices because of this. It's constant exposure using the credibility of a multi-million-dollar brand. Now, if you or I, it would probably be possibly more appropriate for you to be interviewed by Mr. Beast. If he interviewed you, I would say yes too, by the way. I've never watched his show, but I know who he is. He's the number one YouTuber in the world with the most amount of followers or subs. He's earned it. Respect. It's not my demographic. Would I say yes to it? Sure. There is the off chance that somebody might refer to their dad or their mother. Hey, I just saw this guy, Mitch Carson, on this. You ought to consider his services, mom and dad. But I'm not going to watch the YouTube channel of a 25-year-old. Makes no sense. It's not my market. I don't know who watches it, but I highly doubt someone of my age group watches Mrs. Beast. Have you ever watched any of his shows?
Honestly, no. I see him discussed on the internet quite often, so I've maybe browsed at a clip, but it's really just the short. I don't consume that type of content. But again, it's the
Exactly.
audience.
Yeah, it's the audience, but he's got you. Who can argue with the guys? He turned down $1 billion offer for his channel. $1 billion.
That's incredible.
I mean, Jiminy Christmas. He's top of the food chain, but it's the wrong market. Right message, wrong market. People
Even
in
for
his group aren't necessarily ready for what I offer. And I don't think they would be the right market for you either. But for branding purposes, I would say, yes, I'll be interviewed by the Beast. I would build it around. You ask, the question is always, how do I turn this into money? You leverage it. And there are other platforms that will receive you and then click and get into your funnel who are interested in you. It's exposure. The likelihood of one of my prospective clients finding themselves on Mr. Beast's channel is remote. But I'd say yes, because I would build my exposure on that platform around the fact, number one YouTuber in the world, I must be something if the number one YouTuber and a kid that could be my grandson is running a channel and wanted to hear from me. That's how I would leverage that platform. Not expecting any of the people that are his normal viewers to use my services. You never know.
Absolutely. And I imagine that if that were to happen, you wouldn't want to use Mr. Beast's YouTube as like a leverage piece on your website then, unless it's meant for that audience. You may have a specific landing page just for the Mr. Beast people. But again, you're not trying to hurt your credibility, wouldn't it?
Possibly. Correct me if I'm wrong. You possibly know. I know who he is. I don't know what his content is. If he's
I think
talking
it's
about X-rated, it could hurt me. If he's using
yes.
foul language, he could hurt me. So that
Mhm.
I don't curse on any interviews. I don't talk anything X-rated or misogynistic or political or religious. All of those are no-go topics for me. I'm strictly business and mindset. So I keep it clean, and I don't know what he talks about. I'd have to look. And now that I'm mentioning him, I just know who he is. I have no idea what his
Now you're now you're more curious to see who this exclusive Mr. Beast is and what his
yeah.
content is.
What
I
what an
literally think
interesting name.
I think he just creates content for the sake of creating consumable content. Not to say it's clickbaity, but he's doing these big productions. And honestly, I think recently there's been some bad press towards him. Just something to keep in mind as,
Oh,
like you said, you want to be known for and relate to people who are like minded. You don't want someone
mhm.
who's going to possibly tarnish your name.
You got to
The,
be careful with that. It's all
yeah.
we got at the end of the day. Our personal brand is what people say when we're not in the room about us. That's the
Mhm.
uneducated, that's not the technical term you'd find in a textbook, but I reduce it to that. What are they saying about Chris when he's not in the room? If your ears to the door, you'll know how you're perceived in the marketplace.
It's very interesting. Now, for crafting the right offer, I know we've gone into a little bit of this already. I wanted to go over the 30-minute media money roadmap that you share. We'll have links available down in the description. Can you tell us more about that and what makes that such a good offer and how that can influence others when they create their offer?
30-minute interview with me, 30-minute consult. Yes, we'll go through your whole media, what you've done, and then decide whether or not we can work together. I'll give you an objective evaluation. It's like I'll look at it objectively and then I will give you my input of, hey, you're doing everything right, continue. If your market is Mr. Beast, I'm not a fit for you. You'll find out very quickly. If you're looking for a certain market and you want to leverage the credibility that I can provide by getting on network television and network radio shows here in Las Vegas, I can assist you. Please understand that's what I offer. I don't offer podcasts. I don't offer Mr. Beast. I don't offer something in Alaska. It's Las Vegas. This is where you cut your teeth, and you can use this leverageable asset base that you would create here to get on other network television shows, other podcasts. Well, let me ask you a question, Chris. You read my bio. I have the media logos there. Did that impress you or unimpress you, or you're just indifferent?
It's credibility improvement, absolutely. However, being in the industry, I just know what it can or can't take to get there. I think it's really how you present yourself online. The logo itself, it can add credibility, but again, it's that the person, are they authentic? Are they true? And I think
Sure.
that really drives home that trust factor.
Well, but it's adding to it. And if I also
Hmm.
had an article from the Wall Street Journal where I had an article written about me, if I had all of these things added to it, it boosts the credibility. I liken it to peacocking. The peacock attracts the female with his beautiful feathers. It's not the female that's pretty. It's reversed in that animal. The male attracts the female with all of his feathers. Have I been on Entrepreneur Press? Yes. Have I been in Forbes? Yes. Wall Street Journal, Fox, CNN, ABC, CNBC, all of these networks. Have I been on the Chris Troka show? Yes, here he is, all my podcasts. Okay. All of that adds to my plumage because that's what we're showing as experts, as business people. What do we have? Written multiple books. All those books are up there. It's all part of the feathers that we're showcasing to the world. People buy based on perceived value, not necessarily real value. It's nice if it matches, but they buy based on perceived value. Last little metaphor I'll use to share about this is, do you want to be inside a Tiffany box, which is blue and white, when you make your proposal to your girlfriend that you want as your fiance and future wife? Or do you want to wrap it up in a box from Target? Which is going to get you a yes, an emphatic, enthusiastic, crying, emotional yes when you're down on one knee, and you're presenting this to Tabitha? And she sees the blue and white box. You open it up. Open this up, honey. She unravels it. She's smiling, and that jewel is glistening. She thinks it is. You've gone to great lengths to buy this incredibly powerful, incredibly gorgeous, incredibly expensive, because there's that association, expensive diamond from Tiffany's versus you went to Target and you bought something there and it's in the box. oh boy, she'll possibly say no, and she'll guarantee to say yes. You've put all your feathers up nicely. Your feathers are bright. They've been oiled up to glisten when the light hits. That's what a Tiffany box does for you. That's what media does for you. Makes your feathers glisten and stand out against Target. Be Tiffany.
Be Tiffany in a world of targets. Absolutely. Now, Mitch, what are you most excited for 2024 going into 2025? Were there goals you had set that you're excited about? Anything new you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to a new batch of authors that I'm training in the book writing process who are then going to get into the media. A group in Singapore and a group here in America who are then realizing dreams. What my goal is and my objective and my privilege is to help people realize their dreams. Put into play what you've only dreamt about doing, do it, get over the fear, and that's face everything and rise. Face everything, all of your fears, push through the pain and discomfort of whatever that is, to then rise up and become muscly. The first time you and I went to the gym as skinny kids, at least I was skinny. I'm not so skinny anymore, but I was skinny then, and I wanted to be buff. And it took time. It's a matter of you get an immediate pump after doing 20 arm curls. You may go back the next day and do a little bit more, or every other day and do a little bit more. And after a period of time, you look in the mirror one day and realize, oh, shoot, I'm partially buffed. I can attract Polly now. She'll pay attention to me because I've got some biceps. It's starting to work. Keep working out. Keep the path. Washboard abs come through discipline, good diet, and a lot of sit-ups and crunches, planks, all of that. Your planks for your credibility, get on podcasts, get on network television, get on radio shows, publish articles, get covered on blogs, get interviewed, get push. When do you stop publicizing yourself? Never. When you die, you can stop, and don't die soon.
Just keep it going.
Promote yourself as Tiffany. Tiffany always garners more value. Raise your perceived value by including yourself in more press. Never take your foot off the gas pedal.
I love it. And isn't it such just a fulfilling purpose within our lives that we can help other people realize their dreams with the experience and
100%.
knowledge that we've attained and now share with others?
It's fulfilling, isn't it? That's the life process, the full circle. When I was younger, I was selfish. It was me, me, and me. And if you didn't know about me, I'd tell you about me. Now I want to help you so you can tell your story and then you could pass it on. It truly is the lifeline of our process, is to help ourselves, put the mask on ourselves when there's air turbulence. So we're in the airplane, got to cover ourselves, get to be breathing well and clean. Then you can help your kid that's next to you or the old person that's next to you that can't seem to grab it. Take care of yourself first, put the mask on the next person, help them, feel good about yourself, and allow them to help somebody else. That's the process of paying it forward. Help people, do it with a smile, and don't tell anybody about it.
I love it. That's what it's about, giving value, helping others, and
Yep.
we help bring each other up.
Yep. I do believe in rising tides, and I choose at this point in my life, there was always the age-old debate question, is man basically good or is he basically evil? I think he's good. We learn our evil traits. I do like to believe that man is basically good, and women, because there are some women that fall in that category as well, are good and some aren't so nice. But if you start with the basis of it's being half full, you can continue to add nice water to that glass.
I love it. Mitch, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and advice with our audience here. For those who are interested, make sure you check out the links available down in the description and show notes so you can connect with Mitch Carson and take advantage of his wonderful offer. Mitch, any last words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience here?
Face everything and rise. I love the acronym of FEAR. Face everything and rise. Keep pushing. Just take one tiny step if necessary. One thing. Little hinges swing big doors. Push a little bit, because staying the same is staying the same. Get on the bus of progress and excellence. Don't be left behind. All it takes is stepping up, getting on the bus, and allowing yourself to be part of this as you get to the next destination.
I love it, Mitch. Thank you. It is definitely a scary feeling and a scary journey, but the more we take action and just take that small step, we'll find out how good it feels to actually take action and then eventually get results. Mitch, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your 2024 and future success as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.